What's going on, and welcome into Kane's Crew. It's over, fellas. We did it, right? We'll just pack it in. All we had to do was win one game. Everyone's happy. It's as good as a Game 7 victory, right?
Exactly. 100%.
Oh, man. All right, Christian, let's start with you. Instant reactions from the game. Anybody who stood out, anything you just really loved more than anything else? I know that we have refrained from going live or recording much after some of the losses because we're just so frustrated. So this one obviously is a little bit different. So tell us about it.
Yeah, after games 1 through 3, I was just straight up demoralized. I think the entire fan base was. I don't think any Carolina Hurricanes fan was happy with our performance so far in this series. We just have not looked like we were playing Carolina Hurricanes hockey. And I think a lot of credit, all the credit really has to go to the Panthers. They just looked like the better team. They played a better, harder game. They did not make mistakes. They were aggressive and made crisp passes, and they just, made us look bad. Tonight, though, we were the better team. And my favorite part about tonight is that we don't have to hear about that bullcrap winless streak in the Eastern Conference Finals anymore. Even if we lose in Game 5, which we might, but at the very least, we're not swept. We don't have to hear about that bullcrap stat anymore from TNT, ESPN, some Joe Schmo, because all of those national media types, they don't watch a single Hurricanes game throughout the regular season until finally we make it in the third round. They finally start caring about us, and this is what they see. So this is all they know. So anyway, that's my favorite part. We don't have to hear about that bullcrap.
Yeah. Speaking of national media, there's guys on XM today when I was driving. Actually went and got some ice time today with my son over here in Hillsboro. But on the way there, we were listening to some pregame talk. They were talking about both series, but they were talking about ours specifically for a few minutes. And they were talking about, just I don't really see that aggression where the Canes are getting back in their faces. And, and we've talked about that. We haven't seen that, right? But they say they're surprised by it. You're surprised. But that's like goes to your point, Christian. It's obvious as hell now that you do not watch this team throughout the regular season because they don't do that. They're not known for it. They don't have a guy like a Tom Wilson or a Tkachuk or a Marchand who's going to go out there and be a pest and just annoy the hell out of the other team and do it on a consistent basis. We might have a guy every once in a while who gets upset and does something, but not like those guys. And so for them to say, well, I'm surprised, that's the surprising thing. Like, where have you been? Because this is the team that they're built on. They're built actually kind of like the Oilers. Speed and finesse and skill is what's going to get them through the games, not the game that the Florida Panthers play. But Andy, you got to share some thoughts with me on what you saw out there tonight too.
Yeah, same thing as Christian. I'm just so glad we don't have to hear about the stupid 0-15 or we've been swept the last it would have been 4 Eastern Conference semis or Eastern Conference finals rather. So we don't have to hear about that anymore. So that feels like just kind of a relief more than anything. Even if we lose next game, I'm like, at least I don't have to hear this crap on another year or whatever. If we were, I thought obviously we haven't talked about the last 2 games because we were all pissed off after the game. I sacrificed my Yeti mug to the hockey gods after last game.
I think it was to your wood floor or something like that. Actually,
yeah, it was to a carpeted floor that went through my carpet. So I had some velocity on that when I threw it. Anyways, So I'm just glad we actually played our game. We looked like ourselves. Compared to the last 2 games where we just got dominated. Last game I thought we were pretty good in the first 2 periods, and then we just unraveled. We just fell apart in the third. We were absolutely dominated in the third. Yeah. Second game we were completely dominated from the first whistle. And actually the first game I thought that game could have gone either way. We just didn't finish our chances, and they did. But this game felt so much more like how we play hockey on a routine basis. It was nice. It was nice, and we were a little physical. We're going to talk about him a little bit more, but I love Nikishin in the lineup because he is a guy that is not afraid of anyone on the Florida Panthers. He's in there after the scrums, getting physical, being that guy. He's got that nasty streak to him. He'll go hit guys. He doesn't get pushed around off the puck either. Guys try to hit him, and they just bounce off of him. I love it. And then he was an assist tonight, which shows that he's got that skill too. He was great tonight.
Yeah, there was I forget if maybe one of you can remember. There was somebody who tried to just level him right after he got rid of the puck. I think
a few guys that tried to do that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Marchand tried to do it. I think Tkachuk tried to do it. Somebody else tried to do it too, but
somebody found out the hard way that you can't hit a
Barkov. I think was or he hit Barkov. But I don't know. Yeah. There's been a few players that that they think they're going to get the best of him, and they just kind of bounce right off. He's very stable on his skates, and obviously he's like a 6'4", 220 guy. So, which is something we don't really have. I mean, we have Burns, but anyways, go ahead, Christian.
Well, who was the Florida Panther that he has a weird last name who got the penalty there at the end and got kicked out of the game?
I don't know.
Whatever his name. My favorite part about that highlight, he threw a body check to, I forget who it was, and it was a good check. Actually, I think he missed, and then Nikishin went after him, checked him into the boards. It was a good check, and then he turned to look at Nikishin like he was going to do something, realized how big Nikishin was, and he just skated away. Yeah. That was my favorite part about that. Like Nikishin definitely brings an intimidation factor that most of our players don't have.
I was gonna say, and then he tossed the puck at Morrow for some reason. It's all right. That's why you got a game misconduct, I think.
Did anyone see? Was Morrow banged up, or like what was the reasoning?
I think Rod was just.
I think Rod's over it,
playing his veteran guys, and he didn't want to risk Morrow being out there as a liability. So he was double shifting.
Morrow was out there on that power play, the one power play that we had in the third period, but that was about it.
Yeah, Nikishin was out there too. At the very end on that last little few minutes they had on the power play, which I would love to see Nikishin actually be on our regular power play, either unit.
Yes.
Put him in there. Like, he obviously has no problem playing 5-on-5. Like, I get it. There's definitely more communication you need for a power play. And you don't have Orlov to relay things to him on the power play. But
please,
I would love to
put Orlov on the power play.
I think Nikishin will be our top guy next year on the power play. On the point. I do think he will be.
At the very least, he will replace Burns, and maybe Gostisbehere will still be number one power play unit. I mean, but maybe that switches halfway through the season. Maybe Rod will just stick with the veteran like he normally does. But I don't anticipate us re-signing Burns. Since we were just on the topic of like tough guys, like again, if you're familiar with Carolina Hurricanes hockey, I remember when we traded for Brent Burns, and when he came over here, that was the one thing I was really hoping for. It's like, oh, finally. We have a big guy who can finally like protect Aho, protect our younger, smaller guys out there. And we need a little bit more bite. We need more enforcement. But he came over, and that's not his game. That is not what he does. I wish it was. And like we've been looking for that. And even when we signed Carrier, I thought maybe he would be a guy who did that. And yeah, he brings like grit and he hits, he checks. But he doesn't even really do the nasty pushing, fighting stuff. He doesn't do as much as his line mates with Stahl and Martinook. I feel like Stahl and Martinook do more of that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm glad that Nikishin can bring that. But I think to really compete on the same level with the Florida Panthers, we need a guy like that. We need like I don't know. Who knows? But we need more tenacity after the whistle.
Well, here's
I think
more
especially
what we need
I was going to say Svechnikov is one of the few guys on our team that will be a pest after the play, and he'll throw the occasional slash in on guys and just annoy them. But other than that, we don't really have anything. Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Well, I was going to go ahead, but this thing is just giving me the wheel of death here. But I was going to play the Stanky goal because that's what. Oh, here we go. Finally. Oh, that's a terrible. It's just glitching like crazy. But
the slideshow.
Just let it ring.
Yeah, it'll go again. Anyways, I mean, just we talked about it, and I took him as kind of like the guy I was going to say as a difference maker in the last series, right? In one of the games against the Caps. But man, this series has been even better for him, not statistically speaking, but just the way you notice him. I'm taking this off because it's just a freaking nightmare. But yeah, he's just visually very, very obvious to watch. He jumps off the screen, he jumps off the ice, with how fast he is. His stick handling was good tonight. He had
very good
entries. And I kind of wanted to see him like challenge towards the center of the ice a little bit more. He still looks for that shot from the outside, which he has a pretty good one, but hey, go in there and see if you can draw me a penalty, young man. Like, the TNT crew was asking about the penalty shot on Nikishin's slash early. Was that in the first period?
No, that
was that second period?
No, I thought that was the third period.
Was that third period? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't really call anything. It was hard to tell from the TV broadcast because he kind of came from an angle and you couldn't really see like down ice, like if he was just one-on-one. I mean, technically it probably should have been a penalty shot, but they never call that in the regular season either. So it's like, why would you call it during the playoffs? That would have been quite the controversy if we called that.
Yeah, well, the one thing is, like you said, he does come in from the angle. He slashes and then kind of like purposely kind of goes behind him. So I think like the argument could have been made by the official that like he was right there. He kind of gave up the positioning after the slash because
that's true. I agree.
So
with you.
I think you could have argued that like he was right beside him when he actually kind of slashed him. It wasn't a desperation. I mean, he didn't dive to do it.
I thought that was a great penalty to take too. And he actually whacked him, like unlike some of our players, they touch such guys and they won't get their worth of their penalty. Like he's like, whatever, I'm just gonna slash the shit crap out of him.
Make it worth it. Yeah, that guy should be shaking his hand after you slash him.
Exactly. But yeah,
before we move on to Nikishin though, I just want to touch on Stankoven. He has been fantastic in this series so far. He's had I think a good playoffs overall, but really this series he's impressed me. His game never changes. Like no matter what the score looks like, his game stays the same. That's impressed me a lot. Also, his hands have impressed me a lot. Like he's very skilled with the puck. And I was kind of expecting like, okay, I've heard that this guy has a lot of heart. He's a grinder. And I thought we were getting another like Jordan Martinook type, but that doesn't seem to be the case. He's a pretty highly skilled player. But I mean, obviously, even though he's a little guy, the biggest thing about him is his heart. He never gives up on a play ever. He's always giving 100%. And, but he's got some finish too. And so I'm looking forward to, he's only 22 and this is his second semifinal. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this kid develops. And yeah, he's not a Mikko Rantanen, but hey, we also got some first round picks out of it. And I think in a bad situation, Eric Tulsky really did a great job of getting a valuable asset in Stankoven.
Yeah, this is a good question. What do you think Stank's contract extension looks like? We got to get it done ASAP. Thanks for the comment there, Jay. I haven't looked at all the numbers, right? I mean, we've been focused on the playoffs here, but would you like to see kind of a long-term deal here? I mean, like you said, Christian, he's a young kid. If we lock him up now when the price is right, maybe we're looking at something good long-term there. What do you think, Christian?
Well, he's still on his entry-level deal, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he'll have one more year on that deal after this one. So we won't really need to sign him until next offseason, and he'll be a restricted free agent. So even then, it's not going to have to be some sort of huge long-term deal. It could be a bridge deal like we did with Martin Necas. I think ultimately it's going to depend on what his next season looks like when he has a full 82 games with the Carolina Hurricanes, because we've only seen him in a very limited time in this system with Rod. But from what we've seen, we've really liked him. Yes, I agree. I think we should get him locked up. But because he's still on his entry-level deal, we're protected. And there are more pressing needs in the offseason. We're going to be losing a lot of big contracts off of our books. We're going to be losing Burns. We're going to be losing Orlov. And we're going to have a lot of money to play with. And although I do think it's important to make sure that we're getting long-term assets like Stankoven signed, we want to be players in free agency, maybe even go after a big free agent like Marner or somebody like that. So there's going to be bigger needs, more pressing needs in the offseason than Stankoven. But I could see Stanky maybe not in this offseason, but in the next offseason signed to a 3 to 4 year bridge deal. I'm not exactly sure what the AAV would be. Again, it really depends on how many goals and points he's producing in a full 82 game season with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you do want a little bit larger of a sample size, but at this point, I would be willing to bet that what you're seeing is going to continue as long as you surround him with the talent that you've got, right? There's a opportunity to jump up on the first line. If, at this point, he's kind of what Jarvis was earlier in the season for us, right? Jarvis has kind of, disappeared for a little bit here in the playoffs. Not for lack of effort, unfortunately, but for lack of getting things done. So we'll have to see if, the play continues on this level long term, but I think right now I'm happy to extend him long term. Andy, I know we finally got you back on here. You like keeping Stanky long term on a good deal or what?
Yeah, no, I think we should give him an 8-year deal. Granted, I think that would. Well, how much is left on his deal right now?
Well, Christian,
sorry, I think he has one more year on his entry level deal after this. But then he'll be an RFA.
So we need to try to. I think we need to try to. I mean, if he's an RFA, yeah, we can maybe wait a year and then re-sign him to an 8-year deal, depending on how he does. I mean, we could try to sign him on the cheap now, but I think it's kind of weird with a rookie. You never know what they would want to accept if they think their potential is higher than what the team views it right now. I don't think he's in Jarvis territory, but I think he might be like a rank down below that.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But I think we should sign him to the 8-year max.
Nice. I'm for it. From what I've seen in the sample size, I think his ceiling hasn't even been met yet. We'll see though, because it seems like the legs are the first things to go for some of these guys, right? But I don't know.
He's young.
Well, I would say that's my concern with Stankoven is that this might be his ceiling because the dude he's limited physically. He's 5'7", like he's my height or shorter. It's not like he has a ton. I mean, look, he could still, of course, improve. I'm not saying he can't, but because he doesn't have a ton of physical attributes to fall back on, that's what makes me concerned that he's not going to improve drastically and all of a sudden turn into a superstar. He could. I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, but I that's why I think we got to wait at least one more year and see what he does over the course of a full season in a Hurricanes uniform before we jump to any sort of huge contracts.
No, and I agree. I would maybe wait in a year like you're saying, but I see him in kind of the 50 to 60 point range, as kind of more of a floor. Let's say 2 years from now would be his full kind of a floor, in the 50 point range. And I think you give him a contract that's worth that. That's fine. And if we get anything more out of that, then great. But I think I think the smart play would be to lock him up early versus waiting. Well, obviously we're gonna have to lock him up at some point, but I do think long-term contract is the way to go.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. We'll just see if it could be cap friendly for Tulsky to do it because we know he'll stay away from it if it's not in the friendly terms of the money. I want to get to the goalies, all three of them. Okay, I want to hear your thoughts on Kochetkov. Obviously Anderson, first 2 games and tonight. And then I want to hear what you think about Bob. I mean, are we finding a way through? Are we still going to struggle to score in Game 5 here? I mean, what do you think we're going to see out of him and our 2 goalies, which I think we're pretty certain now we're going to stay with Freddie the rest of the way. But Christian, what are you thinking on that?
Let's start with the Hurricanes goaltenders. I wouldn't put a single loss on any of our goaltenders so far. This is me personally, my personal take. I think they've all played fine in this series. Have they played amazing and standing on their heads like Bobrovsky has? No. But I think they played good enough for a good team to win, or at the very least be competitive in the game. They've not really given up very many weak goals, if at all. I think Kochetkov actually played maybe even the best game out of those three losses. He made some incredible saves, and and we're giving up too many 2-on-1s, and he was making some great saves. And then, of course, things just unraveled in the third period. But again, that was not because Kochetkov let in an easy goal. It's just we just were not playing the way that we should be, and that was the case in all three of those losses. Freddie, I thought, played a great game tonight. He was very steady. He was very sound, like he has been this entire playoffs. But the difference is that we cleaned up shots in front of him. We got pucks out, and we played a lot more in the opposing end in this game. That's like the Panthers are, in my opinion, the best team in these playoffs. You cannot give them that much time in our end and expect the puck to never go in the net. They're good at putting the puck in the net. And so we know if we're going to win these games, we have to make sure the puck is down there more than it's down in our end. And that's what we did best tonight, is that Freddie didn't see a whole lot of action. He made the saves that he had to. He actually had a really great save on a deflection, I think, in the first period. And that was the key, is that we got on the board first. If we can get on the board first, we're going to play a much better game, and we have a much, much higher chance of winning the game. And then the last thing I'll say on Bobrovsky, the one thing, if I'm as a Hurricanes fan, that I'm concerned about is Bobrovsky is looking like 2023 Bobrovsky that we faced in the last Eastern Conference Finals. Even in tonight's loss, for them, their loss, the one goal that he gave up was, I wouldn't put on Bobrovsky at all. And the second one that got waved off was another great shot by us, but that got waved off, and then no more goals were scored against him. The other two goals were empty netters.
Yeah.
So he's playing out of his mind. He's made some incredible saves. He's been by far the best goaltender in this series. And if they end up winning the Stanley Cup, he will probably be the Conn Smythe winner. So, as a Hurricanes fan, that is the one thing concerning me going into Game 5. One of the things concerning me.
Yeah. Andy?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Christian said. I think the biggest point that Christian made that I noticed a difference in this game from the actually previous 3 games is that we cleaned up all the trash out of front. Like we were clearing out pucks, right? When they get in the crease, rebound. Like even if Freddie's rebound control wasn't great, we were there to clean it out, throw it out of the zone, whatever. Which is what we didn't do at all in the first 3 games. We were awful in that aspect. We let the Florida players get into the crease and get position way more in the first 3 games than we did this game. I thought we pushed the guys, the Florida players, kind of out of position a lot better than this game than the last 3 games. I think that had a lot to do with me watching Mighty Ducks 3 last night when they put all the trash on the ice and clean it out. So I think I was a big part of that.
I love that, being part of the team, man. But yeah, no, it was extremely obvious to me too what you guys were saying. Like when we made the mistakes in the previous games, it was like they had 3 or 4 strides before anybody seemed to be near them. And tonight, even if the mistake was made within a step, we were right on top of them, stick to stick, something. There was pressure immediately. There was still a couple fumbles where, we're deep in our own end and someone weakly backhands attempt out that never would have got out of the zone. And they had a guy on like the halfway board, it wasn't, there was still a little too much of that for me. And we do have to be frank about this. They did have 3 pretty good players who did not go for them tonight. And we know how the Florida Panthers play. So that's a couple physical guys that aren't on the ice. My concern is that they come back in Game 5 and we see a different game again. Hopefully not, but that, like going along with Bobrovsky playing really, really well, like you said, and some of these people that wake up tomorrow morning and see 3-0 and be like, wow, they got a couple goals past them. No, we got 1.
Yeah,
I mean,
we just got 1.
That's kind of the crappy part of it. It's not like now, like you said, Christian, I mean, is it in his head that it was Aho that got the offside goal, right?
No, it was Jankowski. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say Aho has 2 now because he had the one at home the other night and then this one, but no, it was Jankowski.
Well, Aho had the empty netter, but Eric Robinson was offside and he had the primary assist on that Jankowski goal.
Gotcha. But Aho was the one that had the one through Bobrovsky's 5-hole at home the other week or past week.
Yeah, with the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've beaten him a couple times in the run of play. Obviously, 2 of them have been called back, which is unfortunate. But yeah, he's just playing really well. Otherwise, he's very. I don't know if I've. First of all, there's another little tidbit that I was talking about with someone else the other day. Florida's the only team I've seen in the league that warms up the way they do. It's not a huge drastic change from other teams, but it's just enough that it's noticeable, right? Like the way that they roll their warm-ups, just a little different. It starts off the same, and you think, okay, same as everybody else. You go in circles, you shoot on the goal, blah, blah, blah. But then they do some like 2-on-1s. They do some breakaways. So Bob gets to see a lot of like in-game type shots before the game goes. I don't see anybody else doing that. And I think that's a huge tool for him. He also just, when he warms up, it's just ridiculous, man. Like the amount of pucks that don't go past him is really impressive. Obviously he's not even trying to save some of them because there's just so many coming at him. But the ones he's watching from the time it leaves the stick to the time it's in his glove or something, it's phenomenal stuff to watch that guy. And have you seen him with his pads off? He's not a big dude at all.
He's so skinny. It's like a stick man. Yeah, but he's massive when he's got the pads on. Like I'm standing down there, elevated off the ice, and I'm on the glass watching him warm up, and I'm like, this is a big dude. And then, like you said, man, you see him without all his pads on. You're like, that's the dude in those pads. Like it's crazy, but I guess that goes towards the flexibility and that those pads making him look friggin' superhuman out there. It might as well be a superhero suit for him because that's what he looks like sometimes when he's out there in net. But crazy. I'll touch. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. I just read something on Twitter. It said apparently Alexander Nikishin gave a little speech after the game. And Frederick Anderson said his English is pretty good. He's a super soft-spoken guy, and he's getting acclimated here. I think he's been doing a good job, obviously. But apparently his English is getting better, so
nice.
I don't know if Anderson was just being nice, but that's pretty funny.
Well, let's talk about Nikishin for a little bit because he had a great game tonight. His best game as a Hurricane.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that. And we needed it too, right? I mean, this is the time where when you've called him up and put him in this position, and then for whatever reason, Rod didn't do this a couple games ago, unfortunately. It's like, all right, now it's time to put up or shut up. We brought you here. This was, everyone's been looking for you. Everyone's been excited. And now it's time to get it done. And Christian, he got it done without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. And I said before in our most recent podcast, I am a Rod we trust guy. Like I love Rod Brind'Amour. He's our captain. He, forever. And he's the guy that I think is going to lead us to the promised land and get us a Stanley Cup again as a head coach. But that being said, he's not perfect. And we have to, if we're going to be honest, we have to bring into question some of his decisions. And I think this is one decision that really needs to be questioned. Why he decided to go with Morrow in games 2. Was it games 2 and 3? In game 3, he did play Nikishin, right?
Well, both of them went, I think, right?
No. So he played him in game 5 when we
that's right
wrapped up the Caps, and then he didn't play him in game 1
and game 2.
In game 2, correct. He played Morrow both games.
Yeah, and he was kind of forced to play Nikishin these last 2 games.
Walker got hurt,
right?
And Chad
still out. Yep.
But on that note, Christian, they did ask Rod about that in his post game press conference, and he said something like, "Yeah, I known he was going to play like this, I regret not playing him." But he said because he had a tough outing in the first game, which I thought he got better as the game went by in his first game. And he had a couple, had a turnover there. But other than that, I mean, I thought he was pretty good in his first game. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe Rod is putting a lot into the fact that he did cough up the puck that gave up that Capitals goal that ended up getting disallowed in Game 5. But I don't know, man. Like, if you're really like, you're going to just go off of all that, just seeing him in that one game and basing everything on that instead of all the scouts, I'm sure, and all the videotape that I would hope that Rod has maybe seen of this guy.
Too.
Practice time. Like, it's obvious that this guy is a whole level higher. Like, okay, look, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it is hard to see that in practice, but my gosh, like, it's so obvious out there on the ice. Nikishin is in a different atmosphere than Morrow is right now. I'm not saying that Morrow can't get there, but right now they're two different players. So the fact that he decided to go with Morrow over Nikishin that was a mistake. That was just a mistake, and Rod is going to have to own that one.
Oh, so speaking of mistakes and Rod taking chances, they were questioning again on XM on the way to the rink today, questioning Rod's decision to go Chekhov for Game 3, which I love that decision personally, but I don't know what you guys think on that.
I was totally fine with it. I think they just needed a change. Nothing more than that. I think Anderson, he wasn't good. He wasn't bad in those first 2 games. He didn't make any big saves. I think that was a bit of a problem. But again, like we had so many defensive breakdowns and just guys not clearing men out of the crease that what are you gonna do? Like they gave Anderson no chance basically to make any of these saves. But yeah, putting Peter in, I thought it was fine. You just need to change the momentum up. And I thought he played pretty well until the third, and he just kind of fell apart after that. I believe that second goal, he just completely fell apart. But yeah, I think Anderson's going to be the go-to guy rest of the playoffs, regardless. If we go to Game 7, he's going to be the guy. Go to Game 7.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Well, yeah, like Andy said, Rob was looking for anything to light a fire underneath the guys' butts. Like he was throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck in terms of getting the guys to switch up the momentum and play their brand of hockey. And Kochetkov, he brings an energy, an attitude. Like of all the guys who want to fight out there, Kochetkov is probably the guy who wants to fight the most.
Yeah.
Now, the drawback is that he gets too fired up sometimes, and then he ends up like 10 feet outside of his crease in no man's land and, just completely kills us. But, he had I think he had a good game in Game 3. And I don't question Rod's decision there. I think, again, you're down 0-2, losing both games at home. You got to try and do something to switch it up. But, at the very least, Nikishin, I think, in my opinion, with tonight's game and his performance so far in these Eastern Conference Finals, has not just proven that he needs to stay. Look, we can have a different conversation once Walker and Chatfield are both healthy. Right. But if either one of those guys are out, he's got to be playing. Like Morrow, take a seat as soon as one of those guys gets healthy. And I would also say this. Assuming that we don't re-sign either Orlov or Burns, I think Nikishin has earned a spot already on this defensive, on one of these defensive pairings for next year. Morrow, I don't think you can say that. I think what we're probably going to do is sign, assuming again that we don't re-sign Orlov or Burns, we're probably going to sign some veteran defenseman and then let him compete with Morrow in the off-season, preseason, and see who can win that spot. There's a chance that Morrow starts the year back off in Chicago next year.
Which wouldn't be the worst?
I mean, I think he should, based on what we've seen. I mean, I think he was okay today. He was fine. He didn't get many minutes. Nikishin played. I think I just read a stat. He had the third most minutes on 5-on-5 for defenseman. So nice. That's pretty big. And Rod was very, very he was praising Nikishin in his press conference.
Good.
That I've read.
As he should.
So I think it's very clear to Rod too that he's going to be the guy to go over Morrow.
And since we're on the topic of defensemen, I just want to throw this out there because we didn't get a chance to talk about the last 2 losses. I want to give props to Orlov. I thought Orlov had a very good game tonight, considering the fact that he was terrible in game 3. Like, he was one of the main, if not the main reasons why we lost that game. He was so bad. And
trying to do too much with Nikishin on the line, right? Like he was trying to prove something or like make up for something that wasn't even a deficiency, as we now know.
Yeah, he was horrible last game. But yeah, I agree, Christian. He was so much better this game. Good for him. Good for the confidence of him on defense. But yeah, it just that one goal last game that really bothered me. I can't remember who scored it, but it was kind of like it wasn't a 2-on-1, but the guy got kind of a step on him, and Orlov completely turned his back. He got beat on the inside for an easy goal. I was like, that cannot happen if you're an NHL player. You cannot let that. You have to take the body there. Like that. This is a horrible play. That
almost like take the penalty, like grab him, pull him down, whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't let him have a shot like that.
Yeah, that was bad. And I think that. Yeah. Anyways.
The other thing I just want to cover for tonight's game is we did see finally our first line and our top end players step up. I think Svechnikov had a very good game, even though he didn't really appear on the score sheet. Aho and Jarvis were finally noticeable tonight out there, and I thought they both played a pretty good game. Still want to see them get on the stat sheet more. And I say Svechnikov didn't. He had that assist when he actually could have just put it in the net easily. I was actually in hindsight like, why are you passing it to Aho there? If anything, you could mess that up and Aho could flub it and just put it in the net there.
Right.
But
I thought the same. I think you know that Aho had a better angle on it, and he didn't want to mess it up. To be honest with you, I think that's why he did it. He didn't. I don't think he wanted to throw it. I think he was on his backhand or something. He didn't want to throw it off his backhand where Aho was just on his forehand. But Christian, I will push back a little bit on what you just said. I do think they were much more noticeable, Jarvis and Aho in particular. But I will say that something is wrong with Jarvis. I don't know what it is. He doesn't seem like he's got that same energy. Usually he goes in hard on these forecheck. It seems like he's a little hesitant. I don't know if you guys noticed the same thing. This is something, he looks either tired or just injured or something's wrong.
Do you think that's come after that hit?
That hit. I
left him dazed a little bit?
really think it could be. He hasn't looked the same since. Aho, he looks a little hesitant when he has the puck on his stick for scoring chances. Twice, I believe, tonight, or he had a half decent, like a half breakaway chance. He kind of hesitated, or he ended up passing it. Something seems off with him as well. So maybe the empty net goal will get him going a little bit, just knowing he's on the score sheet. But I think those two guys are just a little off right now.
Well, I don't know about on a breakaway or something. I guess it doesn't make sense, but like I can see Aho being tentative in general. I mean, they are gunning for him, especially Tkachuk is going to continue to go after him and try and, if nothing more than the physicalness, he's going to try and play head games with him because he knows he's in there, right? I mean, after that last game where he puts him in, put him in the box and he points at his head, like, better not watch, better keep your head up, type of thing. We have to continue to stick up for ourselves. That one of the first stoppages of the game when Freddie had the puck and Tkachuk tried to get in his grill, and we had like 4 dudes pushing Tkachuk out of I loved it. You don't have to punch the guy in the face. You just have to be in his grill. That's all we're asking for. And that's exactly what they did, was they helped establish dominance around their own net front for the first time, really all series. I mean, every other time it's come because it's retaliatory to what the Panthers did to start with. This time it was kind of like us getting in his grill right away. So
yeah, if you get in there with numbers after, get near the goalie, our goalie, all 5 skaters on the ice go right and protect your goaltender. They're not going to call 5 guys. If it's one guy in there like doing it, then there's a higher chance of him getting called for a roughing penalty after the fact. But when it's 5, they're like, all right, we might take two guys. It's
Well, also when it's 5, it forces the other team to have to bring in guys, and then they get into the scrum, and then they're not going to call anybody because you can't throw everybody out.
Yep, exactly. Right.
They're just going to keep breaking it up.
That's exactly what Florida does. They've been doing anytime their goaltender's touched, all other guys swarm in there, which is what we should have been doing the entire time, but we weren't until this game.
Yeah.
Real quick, just to touch on Jarvis, your point there, Andy. I do remember hearing earlier in the season, so Jarvis had some sort of upper body injury. It might have been a shoulder or something like that coming out of last season. He didn't get surgery, if I'm remembering correctly, and he just rehabbed it during the offseason. And then somewhat early on into this season, if you guys remember, he actually had to sit out for a few games. And there was a time when he was out, and the speculation was it was the same injury from before, got flared back up. And he's been kind of dealing with it on and off throughout the season. And he still had, I think, a great season this season, which says a lot. The fact if he's just kind of nursing some sort of upper body injury throughout this season. But it, maybe it was like the hit that dazed him, but maybe also like throughout the playoffs, just he like the injury has become much more severe, a lot harder to control or manage. So maybe that could be another reason why we're not seeing him at his peak. Because again, I think you're right. He was more noticeable, but look, Jarvis, we've come to expect, we've seen games where he puts the team on his back and he's the best player in the game and dominates. And we have not really seen that in these playoffs yet.
Yeah. Just watch him go in on the forecheck and you just noticed a huge difference in how he was playing, a few weeks ago versus now. He just seems hesitant to get kind of involved in some of the rougher stuff. He still does, he still goes in there, but it's just not the same as before. I would not be surprised at all if after the playoffs we hear that he was dealing with like some sort of significant injury.
At the end of the day, though, I still think, yes, I agree with you guys that we need more grit. We need more tenacity. We need more guys standing up. But I think if we really want to get over the hump and win a Stanley Cup, we need some more skill on this team. Like we only scored 1 goal against a goaltender in this game. We got to get guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. And our power play is going to look a lot better when we have guys out there who are comfortable moving and handling the puck. And the reason why this jumped out to me was Eric Robinson's goal, or the Eric Robinson's offside, which took a goal off the board. I thought it was a great finish by Jankowski. But you look at Eric Robinson, he's completely by himself. Was it an effort issue? No, of course not. It wasn't an effort issue. It never is with him. That was a skill issue. At the very least, you can argue maybe it was a mental issue. But all the dude had to do was just wait a half second more, let the puck cross the line before you jump in. Like to me, are you going to see a Mitch Marner type like make that kind of mistake, be completely all alone, and jump into the offensive zone before the puck gets there? Like that's what happens when you fill up a team full of fourth and third line grinders. Like I love Eric Robinson. He's out there. He plays with his heart. He's actually very fast. He beats a lot of guys to pucks and creates a great forecheck. And Rod builds our team around forechecking. But my gosh, like we got to get some guys who can make some skill plays. Like to me, that's an inexcusable offside in an Eastern Conference final. And I love Eric Robinson, but that has to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll agree. There's a problem when you have KK on your second power play unit. A dude that plays on...
There's a problem when you have KK on your team in the NHL.
It's like essentially a fourth line center playing on your second power play unit. And like I like his physicality the last game or two. Yeah. That's been a great part of his game. I'm giving props for that.
Yep.
But man, anytime he has the puck on his stick, he's fumbling it around. He's 1-2 second or like a second late to shoot the puck, or he hesitates. It drives me insane. He always loses the puck. He produces no offense whatsoever.
Now that you're saying it, I'm pretty sure he's the one who had like that like half effort attempt to like get it out of the zone. It went right to a Florida Panthers stick. Like when it clearly could have been like, hey, get the puck, turn up ice, look where you're going. You don't even have to, you're not like going on a breakaway, but just give it to somebody. You didn't even have to throw it up the boards blindly because you didn't have anybody coming at you. But he did. And, it's just like, dude. And then, like, I think that was when we texted. because like he had that play in the defensive zone, and then the offensive zone, he also did something completely boneheaded. And you're like, what are you doing out there, man?
I'll
Like,
text it at the same time. KK sucks.
yeah.
We all did. Yeah,
player,
we all did.
Another player I want to talk about is Hall. Hall has
Yeah.
not been good at all this series. I don't know what is going on. He gives great effort the whole game, but something's just off with his passes. He's been losing the puck on it. He's been falling down a ton in the corner.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Hall, but
I also
think
noticed he's not physical at all. Like whenever the puck is dead and the whistle goes, watch him. He is the first to get the hell out of Dodge. Like he doesn't want to get involved with the physical stuff. I'm like, once again, I'm not telling you to go in there and fight somebody. I'm not telling you to go in there and slash them, punch them in the face, but just be there for your teammates. And like, I have to wonder if that's going to play into, him finding himself down the lineup a little bit after a while or something. I mean, like you said, it's not the efforts seems to be there, and that the skating seems to be there. It's the stick handling right now. It's just not working for him, like it was against the Devils, where I thought he had a really good series. I think the fall off started during the Cap series. I think he had a game or two where he looked okay, and then after that, it hasn't been the same since. And the other thing is, I find him getting himself along the boards far too often. Like that's not where he excels. He excels closer towards the center of the ice where he can pull a move or has some more space. And I don't know why he's not finding himself more towards that center of the ice, but yeah, I agree with you. Not been good lately.
Yeah, 100%. 100.
So, boys, what are your thoughts about this series? It's now 3-1. We're heading back to Raleigh, which is great. I'm just curious. What are you guys thinking? What are our chances? What are you guys thinking for next game? What are your thoughts?
I'll also say this: I would put $0 on us to win the series. Could they play like this again? And who was it? Was it Ferraro who said we stole one at home earlier against somebody in the playoffs? So could we steal one again at home and force at least a game 6? I wouldn't put the chances very high. Again, this when you look at how many of the other games were kind of blowouts, right? We know that first one looks like one, but like you guys said, that one was actually closer than a 5-2. It was 5-2 on that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was closer than the 5-2 final score indicated. The other two games were clearly blowouts that we did not deserve to be on the same ice, right? And so, yeah, I mean, you could see one like the game 1. We could see that at home on game 5, like one that's really closely competitive, but we lose it, by 1 goal. So I mean, I'm not like clearly hopeful that we can come back and stand a great chance. I'm obviously cheering for it, but no, I mean, if I had to put take the heart out of it and put the head into it, I would say the Panthers probably wrap it up in game 5 or game 6. I don't even think it gets to a 7, but I don't know. Andy?
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I think anything from this point on, any wins is kind of a bonus at this point, just because how bad we played in the first 3 games. Very rarely, I believe it's only 2 or 3 times that teams have come back from 3-0. Maybe it's 4 at this point, but it hasn't happened very often. So I think it's going to be very difficult to come back from a 3-0 now it's 3-1 deficit to win the series or even force a game 7. I think the fact that we're on home ice in game 5, that definitely helps us for sure, especially if we can get the lead early. I think we can win that game. If we get down early like we have been and they put 2 goals in, we're done. We're done. We can't score that many goals on Bobrovsky. It's just we have to get the lead in order to win these games. Or at least don't let Florida get ahead by multiple goals, because there's no chance we're coming back. We just can't against Bobrovsky. We have not proven to be able to do that. So I think honestly, how I feel, I think it could most likely scenario, we lose next game or we lose in game 6. I would love to go to game 7 and win, which would be great, because we do have home ice advantage. So if it somehow gets there, that would be awesome. But we've seen the Hurricanes in the past, just last season, when we were about to force a game 7 against New York, and we were up. What? How many goals were we up by? Like 2.
Two, I
Going
think.
to third or something like that, and then we just
Yep.
Freddie collapsed, I believe.
Fell apart in the third. Yeah.
Completely fell apart and just destroyed our hopes because we would have had momentum going in to that game 7. So who knows? Maybe we can, but it's doubtful to me.
Yeah, Christian.
Well, I want to preface this by saying, and I'm looking forward to kind of our hopefully farther down the line, our end of season recap. But I think we exceeded expectations making the Eastern Conference Final. And honestly, you could make the argument we actually won more games this season than we did in 2023, even though I think we were a better team in 2023. But hey, we made it farther in the playoffs this year. So what do I know? But at the very least, I'm happy with that. I'm happy we didn't get swept. I did pick us originally that we would lose this series in 6 because I did think that the Panthers were just a better team, better built for the playoffs and to win the Stanley Cup. Like Andy said, the key for game 5 is going to be we have to score first. And at the very least, we cannot let them score an early goal in the first period. Coming out of that first period 0-0 to me was a win. We finally kept them scoreless in the first period. So we have to come out the gates and be the better team in the first period. And we got to get on the score sheet earlier. And I think we have a much better chance of winning this game. Because I picked us in 6, I picked the Panthers in 6. I'm going to say we will win in game 5, which I think would be incredible. Because here's the thing. Right now, we're down 3-1. It still looks like insurmountable odds because Florida has so far proven that they're the better team in this series.
Yep.
But if we can win this game at home, then all of a sudden we've made it a series. It's a series now because it's going back to 6, and the Panthers now have some pressure because they know if we don't win this game, then we have to go back to Raleigh and win game 7. And that'll be the first time in this entire series that Florida has faced any pressure. Mm-hmm. So with my brain, I could easily see the Panthers beating us like they beat us in games 1 and 2 back in Raleigh. But I will say this, even though I think this whole season has been a win, has surpassed my expectations, losing 3 straight home games in the playoffs when you have been such a dominant team at home this season, that would not sit well with me. And especially if I'm a season ticket holder, and Nick, you've been going to these games. If I'm going and I'm paying this kind of money and going to these games, and I saw us get our butts kicked in games 1 and game 2, I darn well better see a much better effort in game 5. And personally, I think it would be a bad mark on this team if we lost all 3 games at home in this series. They got to come out and win game 5. Let's just make it a series, boys. Let's just get it back to Florida and see what happens then. If we lose in Florida, okay, fine. I'll take it. But we cannot lose game 5 back at home. We gotta protect home ice.
Absolutely. I like get some respect from the league. get it back at least.
I don't know if that'll ever happen, Andy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody was that they had the is Dallas done, right? And this guy was putting up one of the guys on the radio to say yes or no to every question. He said no, Dallas is not done. He said yes, the Hurricanes are done. So it's nice to have gotten this one to say you were wrong. We're not necessarily back, but we will make it hard to move on from this point. Like you said, they get one in game 5 and put game 6 back in Florida. Now they're talking about are the Panthers the new Leafs, right? Like, are they going to collapse, right? So yeah, it would be nice to have the shoe on the other foot and the media the attention going to them, and then the attention off of us essentially. Because at this point, if you end up losing, well, the hell, everyone expected that to happen after the first couple games anyway. So now you're just playing with house money. So just do whatever it takes to try and get that victory. So yeah, I'm not way up here, but I am much happier with the effort and the victory tonight. But yeah, we'll see.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Do you guys think we go after Mitch Marner in the offseason? Because I've been seeing reports a lot that he's definitely going to test free agency.
Do we go after him? I think we throw out an offer or we entertain something, but I don't think he wants to come here.
I have no clue. I think I agree with you. I don't know. I actually don't know his feelings on Carolina per se. Even though he did turn down he used his no trade clause when we were trying to do a trade with him and Rantanen. But I think that had more to do with his wife being pregnant and him not wanting to leave to go anywhere, to be traded anywhere at that point. So I don't think that's an indication of his feelings towards Carolina. However, do these high scoring players, do they want to come to Carolina, or are they afraid to come to Carolina because they don't want to play in Rod's system, which asks them to do a lot more than kind of like a free flowing system, just a run and gun system that some of these other teams have? I think is a big concern if we're trying to get these top tier talents, and maybe one of the reasons why Rantanen didn't want to stay here.
True.
Well, I think this is an interesting conversation that we're going to have for a later podcast because there's a lot to get into with that one. I think, some team is going to offer him a boatload of money, whether it's Carolina or Anaheim or one of these other teams that is ready to pay. Like, he's going to get paid a ton of money because he's by far the most attractive, highest scoring free agent out there this offseason. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, a lot plays into it, whether or not he's comfortable with playing in a smaller market like Raleigh, or whether or not maybe he cares more about the money than winning, because Carolina offers winning, but it doesn't necessarily offer a huge market, and maybe it doesn't necessarily offer, the kind of, I don't know, social, media. I mean, actually, for him though, that's the good thing, probably, because he doesn't want the media attention like he had in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, though, Andy, I'm actually kind of surprised that you didn't want to talk about Bissonnette tonight.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the whole Spin Chicklets guys here, they've been trashing the Canes. Like, okay, number one, they are minority owners in Carolina Hurricanes new affiliates, in the ECHL, the Greensboro Gargoyles. Okay, and they've pretty much, I forgave them a little bit when earlier in the playoffs about saying we're boring or whatever. But man, some of those
Capitals.
Oh my god, yeah, some of these tweets they sent out at the end of last game. What did Biz say? He said something like, "Oh, no wonder Rantanen didn't want to play there." Like, what are you trying to alienate all the fans that are going to go to your games? Like, you are a face of that franchise. And then Ryan Whitney is also saying something similar, like, "Oh, we're like one of the auto bids in the college football playoffs that they get in, and when they get in, they lose like by 60 points or something like that." And I was like, "That's number one. That's a dumb analogy."
He said if the Hurricanes had any pride or any respect for hockey, then we should forfeit this game that we just played.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of take is that?
Did you read his one after tonight's game? He's like,
No.
"Come on, Hurricanes, you gotta close this one out." And then he's like, "I was wrong about saying that they should forfeit the game," or something along those lines. I was just
He's a flip flopper.
He's the Bill Simmons of the hockey world, because that's what Bill Simmons does. All he does, he has very, very strong opinions, but then one game difference, like at least in like NFL and stuff, one team will have a good game and they'll be like, "Oh man, that team's actually good that I thought was trash." And I was like, you had very strong opinions before, but now one game and you completely change how you feel. So anyways.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think just one thing I want to say about this is that obviously these hot takes are garbage. They're meant to incite like people's anger because you're going to get more clicks, get more attention. Most of the time they know this when they're putting stuff out there. But one thing that I think it does show is it shows that all of these guys, most of them, like 90% of them, are all from Toronto. They're all from the Toronto area. And it's so obvious that these guys don't watch a single Carolina Hurricanes game throughout the regular season. They don't know anything about our team. They barely know who Rod Brind'Amour is. They barely know who Sebastian Aho is, but that is about it. They might now know who Seth Jarvis is, but they don't know anything about our team. All they know is that we tried to get Mikko Rantanen and he didn't want to play for us, and then we're getting our butts kicked in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's all they know. So that's why they're putting out these garbage takes. But if you're a real Carolina Hurricanes fan, you know they're garbage. Don't listen to the haters. let's go. Let's go win Game 5.
Chip
Let's go.
Tracy's gonna be on Spitting Chicklets tomorrow morning.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna tune into that one. No free ads here, Andy. No free ads. All right.
You know.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this one.
Yeah, they're definitely our competition.
Yeah, we're coming for you guys, Spitting Chicklets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're worried about us. They're worried about all 12 of our viewers.
Yeah. Hey, we got one comment tonight. All right, we're good.
Hey, we did.
Right.
We're upping our game. We went.
What
from
was
0
what's his
comments to
name? We should give him a shout out because he's like our only
Hey,
fan.
man. Appreciate it, bro.
It was
Hey, man.
Jay. That's all I saw was Jay.
Jay, my boy
Shout out
Jay, coming in
Maybe
clutch.
Maybe he's from
Stand
Canes Red.
Jay.
So we'll keep sharing stuff in there when we have it for you guys. We appreciate anybody watching live for sure, and anybody who's checking this out afterward before we get into Game 5. And we'll certainly be coming at you again after Game 5. Hopefully another win, right?
That's right.
But until next time, we'll see you guys later.